our first laser that we had, so we started in 2012. Our first laser, I think, was built in like 96.
Oh, wow.
It still ran on a floppy disk. There's a lot of different job shops in this area. I mean, Ontario is a manufacturing hub. Kind of always has been, right? There's a ton of different job shops. There's a laser shop on every corner. We are constantly fighting the battle of people buying their own machinery and bringing it in-house. So the best thing we can do is just service our customers as best as we possibly can.
This episode of the Fabricator Podcast is brought to you by Amada Canada. To stay competitive, Canadian sheet metal manufacturers need more than just raw power. They need seamless efficiency. Amada delivers with best-in-class fiber lasers and advanced robotic automation engineered to eliminate bottlenecks and unlock lights-out manufacturing. But their true advantage? Unmatched localized service and support that keeps your shop floor moving around the clock. From precision cutting to fully automated bending, Amada is your partner in continuous production. Experience the future of fabrication today at amada.ca.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. My name is Dan Davis. And you are?
I am Robert Coleman.
And you are?
I'm Gareth Slager.
Thank you, Gareth and Rob, for sitting in. This will be our last interview that we've done here at FabTech Canada.
See you again in a couple of years. Yeah.
Thanks for not walking off.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around the last 5 minutes. This episode is sponsored by Amada Canada, and we'll be speaking with a user of Amada equipment, Dave Emrich from Emtek Processed Alloys. Really good conversation about somebody that was part of a family business in the metal fabricating industry and really had no plans to be a part of it.
Yeah. This is probably one of my favorite conversations about a succession plan of a son who didn't want anything to do with it. Just some of the conversations about like him trying to learn how to use the laser cutting machine, and worth sticking around for.
It's unique from the standpoint that even someone so close to the action is really kind of unaware of why it might benefit him to be part of the action.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as we've completed 5 episodes, it's really nice to kind of get a feel for metal fabricating, at least like in the Southern Ontario region. From your perspective, did you pick up on anything, learn anything?
Well, I just think everyone's journey in the industry that we talked about, Dave, but everyone else we talked to, it's just fascinating how they developed and, didn't necessarily understand what the industry was all about, but they saw it and they're like, well, most of them, except for Dave, saw it and went, this looks fascinating. I've got to figure out how to make this happen. And it's wild. There's so many different routes to being a success in this industry, and it's great to see.
I don't know, since we've been doing the podcast episodes, we've had a string of like really interesting smaller shops.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we've talked with our Fab 40 customers and intersperse that with some metal artists, but this has been a nice collection of folks that are very in tune with job shop like growth, foundations, culture, and kind of have these conversations back to back to back to back. How many backs is that? 4 or 5?
We got 5. I mean, Ian Johnson's episode was not really job shop related, but
he had his roots in terms of like work. So it's for TV, but it's still they working on small projects.
Right.
But even a conversation we had with Andrew Llewellyn about welding, I mean, that's from a perspective of a welder who's now in a larger corporation.
Yeah.
And even that perspective is kind of unique.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So never underestimate where the industry can take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'll enjoy this episode with Dave Emrich of Emtek Processed Alloys. Once again, thanks to Amada Canada, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Stay informed, stay competitive, and stay connected to the industry with the Fabricator magazine. Every issue covers the latest processes, equipment, and best practices in metal fabrication. plus perspectives from people who are solving real problems on the shop floor every day. Join thousands of subscribers and sign up for The Fabricator for free at thefabricator.com.
Welcome back to the Fabricator Podcast. Thanks for joining us today, Dave.
Happy to be here.
Can you give the audience a little bit about your background and how did you get involved with Emtek?
So I am third generation family business member of fabricating companies. So
It's a good way to get involved in the business.
yeah. You're kind of forced. We'll get into it. My grandfather came over from Germany during the war and worked for a fabricator. He was actually a master carpenter by trade, but he came over during the war and worked for a fabricator, ended up starting his own shop with two other business partners, one being his cousin and another one who, that gentleman, I believe, did not have any kids. That business was then succeeded to my dad and my two uncles, and then, which was my grandfather's three boys, and then three of my grandfather's cousin's boys, so it succeeded to six partners. That business was called Astron Specialty Metals, and around the time that I was kind of in college and stuff, my dad and my uncles were starting to think about what's our succession plan, etc. And it's really hard to split a pie that's already split into six
Right.
much further. So what we decided to do was my business partners, Jeff, my cousin, and Paul, my brother, they were working at a processing shop, and they decided that they're going to start their own shop with the help of my dad and my uncle. So it was kind of a win-win for both Astron as well as us, is because with Astron, that was already the biggest customer at the processing shop they were at. So by us starting, we kind of had a bit of a baked-in customer relationship already, as
Okay.
well as my cousin Jeff was in sales. He had already been in sales for about 10 years.
Wow.
So he had a book of business to bring with him as well. Where I come into this is I never wanted anything to do with this industry my entire life. I fought it tooth and nail. You can ask my parents.
That is not that rare of a statement in this podcast.
Yeah, I believe that. It's not as flashy of an industry as
Get out.
initially, and then all of a sudden you start. The further down the road you go about it, it actually kind of becomes that way, right? But I wanted to do everything from music to stand-up comedy to advertising to, I'd rather be homeless almost at that point,
right.
just to prove that I wasn't in the family business. And so the one thing was I was really, really good with computers, software, that sort of thing. So my brother works on the organization and ops side of things. Jeff was the sales side. They needed somebody who could do the programming and machine operations side. So, after about 6 times of kind of pushing, eventually my mom kind of said, I'm going to ask you one last time.
Right.
At the time, I wasn't working and was having a hard time finding a job out of college. I went to school for advertising. And that's a tough industry to break into. So I was having a hard time finding work, and I thought, okay, you know what, I'll give it a shot. It'll pay some bills for now at least. Went in, and that was in 2012. And when we started, I was kind of thrown to the wolves as programmer and laser operator, having never done either. I remember about 3 weeks before we opened the doors, I had a panic attack because I didn't know what a lead-in was. And somebody said that to me, and I was like, what? And I was like, I was way in over my head. Somehow I managed to survive and figure it out. Now we are... I don't know if I said the name of my business, Emtek Processed Alloys.
Yeah.
And we're about 25 employees now.
Wow.
And so I do sales, marketing and promotion. I do oversee all the programming. I do all our IT stuff, as well as now I've actually moved into developing internal software processes and stuff like that too.
Oh, wow.
Which it's funny how going back to not wanting to be in this industry and you know, it not being, you know, the most attractive industry, because I grew up working in my dad's shop, and it was the summer job, and you know, my friends were working at day camps or you know, whatever, and I was in a not air conditioned shop, cleaning welding dust off of shelves all day, and you know, and deburring parts, and it's not glamorous work for sure, right? But you know, I've moved down the road about it, and now it's, I get to check out robots all day, and I get to be creative and develop software and stuff like that. And my tune about it has actually changed quite a bit, but it took a good decade of me kind of fighting tooth and nail, even when I was working there, to kind of change my tune.
That's so funny because, you know, a lot of people in the industry would love more people to know about the industry, but here you are, you even have such a close connection with it, and like you're even kind of fighting it a little bit.
Absolutely. It was one of those where it was, I mean, like our first machine, our first laser that we had, so we started in 2012. Our first laser, I think, was built in like 96.
Oh, wow.
It still ran on a floppy disk. Like it was that old.
Wow.
And even at that time, it's like I'm being pulled, kind of, for lack of a better term, forced into this position.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you know, I wanted to be at the forefront of new tech and creativity. And, you know, I live in Waterloo, Ontario, and that's when, you know, BlackBerry was big, and all my best friends are working in these high tech companies and everything. And then it's like I show up to work and I have to put a floppy disk into a machine, and it wasn't you know, it wasn't the most glamorous thing. So there was a fair bit of pushback, but over time I started realizing, no, I've gained a ton of skills that, you know, a lot of my friends that do work in those kind of more attractive high-tech jobs and stuff, they don't have those skills, and I just learned those from just being around, even like when I was younger, being around guys fabricating, welding, using a brake press, all that sort of stuff. For example, like it was about a year and a half ago now, we plugged in our first brake press. We were initially just laser and water jet, and kind of kept adding lasers to accommodate capacity. And now with the way the industry is going, a lot of fabrication companies want their products to come in basically fully ready for assembly, and it's just weld and assemble and you're done. And so you got to start being more to your customers. So we decided, okay, good first step for that is adding in a brake press. It's a value-added service that doesn't take up a ton of footprint, that our customers are already asking if we can do. So we plugged one of those in, and it was never really a plan for me to kind of really grasp it and take the bull by the horns. It was going to be, okay, you know, shop foreman and the operators can figure that out, and because we trust our employees implicitly. And don't get me wrong, they're impeccable at it, but it was one of those things that I just naturally took to, and I realized that a lot of the knowledge that I gained was when I was 15, and I was just helping at the brake press, bending bigger panels, you know, with some 50-year-old brake operator that I had nothing in common with. And it's skills like that down the road, you know, you really start appreciating. But when you're young and you want that, you know, big exciting job, you don't. I took media arts classes in school, and don't get me wrong, I learned skills there too. But I wasn't taking shop. I wasn't taking, you know, tech classes. And there's part of me that wishes I was in those classes more,
Right.
because there was so many skills and cool things that you can learn in those jobs that you can learn right out of high school very early on.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's funny, knowing that your company started in the 2000s. I was sort of thinking, oh, you didn't have to have that all those legacy equipment to get through to become a more advanced company. So I thought, well, that would be easy. But now you're talking about you actually had this really old machine.
Yeah,
How long that sucker lasts?
Longer than it should have. It shouldn't have made it into our shop. Believe it or not, that machine lasted, I think it lasted about 5 years in our shop still. And now we plugged in another laser. It was less than 12 months, and we were like, we're losing money because this thing, it couldn't even cut 1/4-inch carbon steel. Like it
no
was,
kidding.
it was a dinosaur.
Wow.
And we had to like skeleton together different parts when it would break down, and the thing was a Frankenstein by the time it was done. And so we plugged in another laser, an Amada 4K CO2 laser. We plugged that in usually about a year after we started, because it was just like, we need something to actually like push material through. But then we were good for a good couple of years there, and then eventually we kind of found a bit of a sweetheart deal on an oversized Amada 6K CO2, and that was probably the machine that really kind of changed our company, because with the oversized capacity, all of a sudden we were offering a niche capability that a lot of our competitors didn't have.
Yeah. Did you know that at the time?
I knew it at the time, but I don't think I appreciated it as much as like how drastically things were gonna change. Because initially it was when we started out, it was just okay, this from my parents' perspective and my uncle's perspective, okay, this is a great way for the kids to be able to pay their bills, have a bit of autonomy, and maybe build a little wealth for themselves.
Right.
And it's grown now to the point where like they're astonished at what we've been able to pull off, simply because of us kind of finding different niches that we're capable of. And the one major asset that we have as business partners, the three of us, is we all have our strengths, and we all respect each other's strengths implicitly.
Right.
I do sales. I am not a salesperson. I am an estimator. I can do math. I can't. I'm not much of a go out and cold call and all that sort of stuff. Jeff, on the other hand, he networks all day, every day. That's just what he does. And much in the same, my brother Paul he's incredibly organized, right? I kind of lie somewhere in the middle of the two, but I come at things with a more creative approach sometimes that they kind of will respect that. Okay, maybe this is something that Dave can take on, and he kind of can come about this in a different way, and through that, I've started dabbling in other things, 3D printing and stuff like that. And these were all things that when I was younger, I never would have taken to.
Right.
Simply because I'm not a handy person.
Yeah.
I have to get robots to do that stuff for me. Like even around the house, a lot of the handiwork my wife has to do because I have no dexterity in my hands. I can't, these fingers are not meant for small screws. So
I can relate.
Yeah. So but what we learned very early on is it's one thing to work super hard and have to put in overtime hours, but it's for somebody else. When you start doing that for yourself, you start earning a sense of pride about all of it. And as much as it's not the most fun thing in the world, we reminisce now when it was, I'd show up at 8 a.m. and a job would come in by 10 a.m. that a customer needed tomorrow. And even though it was 1/4-inch carbon, we had to cut it on the water jet because we couldn't cut it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, Dave, go back home, get some sleep. And I'd show up at, 9 o'clock at night and run that water jet till 4 in the morning.
No kidding.
Just trying to get jobs out the door. And, you gain an appreciation for the amount of hard work that and long hours that you have to do, but you appreciate it a lot more when it is for yourself.
Yeah, I think
right?
your customers probably appreciate it as well.
Well,
being able to-
that's the biggest thing, right? Like, there's a lot of different job shops in this area. I mean, Ontario is a manufacturing
Yeah.
hub, kind of always has been, right? There's a ton of different job shops. There's a laser shop on every corner. We are constantly fighting the battle of people buying their own machinery
Right.
and bringing it in-house. So the best thing we can do is just service our customers as best as we possibly can, and come at things, approach problems creatively when they come up, and be there for our customers, because if you don't do that, somebody else will,
Right.
and then you're losing jobs, right?
Yeah.
So
there's nothing that makes you want to work smarter rather than harder than doing it for yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So can you tie that into some of the the capabilities that Emtek has now?
yeah. So
What are we looking at on the shop floor?
shop floor, we have. So we still have that original 4K CO2.
Okay. Wow.
We're actually replacing it at the end of this year with a 9K fiber.
Wow. Wow.
So we have that. We have an oversized 12K fiber, and we have a 6K fiber on the floor.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
And then we have 87K water jet with 87,000 horsepower pump. And then we have a polisher, and we have a brake press in-house. And that's kind of our newest value-added service. And
How large is that?
the brake press,
Yeah.
it's 10 foot. It's the Amada, I think it's the EGB, so it's the
So-
fully electric
Yeah.
brake press. So it's a 10 foot, 130 ton capacity. So for us, being a job shop, anything larger than that, we've got customers that can
Right.
do that work,
Yeah.
that if we need, we outsource a little bit here and there.
Yeah. What's the maximum thickness you can do on your brake?
It can go up to 1/2 inch thick.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's no slouch.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're doing smaller brackets and stuff. You're not
Right,
going to be
right,
doing
right.
a full plate. Not to mention, we don't have a crane at our brake press, so
Yeah. Right.
full plate's a 1/2 inch. I don't think the brake operator would really appreciate that.
It's not like what you're doing when you're assisting guys. at the
No,
brake
no,
press.
exactly. So, yeah, back to your point about working smarter, not harder. That's where we actually started implementing a lot of different things with like AI and stuff like that, where I'm using AI to develop internal processes and software, because I know the principles of coding. I don't
Right.
know any coding languages like
Yeah.
off by heart. I can kind of suss it out while I read it,
Right.
but I don't know it off by heart. And so I'm using AI to develop internal software just for file organization, for streamlining quoting process, stuff like that. Down the road, we're looking at, for streamlining production scheduling, stuff like that. All stuff that, we're at FabTech. Every other booth has an offering of that type, but I want to do it for us internally, where it's tailored to our exact needs, right? Because everything you purchase there's always going to be those quirks that you got to work around.
Right.
Whereas nowadays, with a lot of the work, a lot of the work that we do, I know our entire process front to back. I've been doing it since
Right.
day one.
Right.
That I can take that and I can say, okay, well, where this software does this, I want ours to do this, this, and this, and take those principles and build out workflows that do make you work a lot smarter and a lot less harder. And, let the robots here are already doing a lot of the fabricating. Let's let the robots do a lot of the thinking too. And then from there, I know there's debates about whether AI is good or bad, and that's a whole other episode we
Right.
could get into for sure. But from a business standpoint, we don't want it to be taking jobs, but if it can make our jobs easier, where you can use you can do the stuff that a human has to do, where it's a lot more critical thinking, creative thinking, stuff like that. Why not have the computers do the computer programs do that kind of work for you? So
I guess everything is programmed in the office for all your machines?
Yeah, so we program everything offline, which we've been doing since day one. I don't know any different, but I can't imagine programming things like at the machine or it just seems it's extremely inefficient, obviously. So we have, in our 24, we have 2 full-time dedicated programmers. Then we have myself and the shop foreman who are also, backup programming when things get either busy or somebody's off, that sort of thing. And we do even our brake press programming. Everything's done fully offline. And the software nowadays it's become leaps and miles from. I remember when I was in high school, the one shop class I did take, we pulled up a pattern and we had to write the G code for that pattern, and then a CNC would etch it into like a piece of plexiglass or something. I was like, your name and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we had to sit in Notepad and hand write that G code. And it was like a full week and a half long project. And we're producing, the software nowadays can produce that G code in like 30 seconds. It's unbelievable. And the amount of time you save by doing that stuff offline is that's where you're making your money, right? Because the more you do in the office, the less time you're going to have downtime at your machines.
Yeah.
And your machines are the things that are producing for you and your customers, and therefore they're making you money, they're satisfying your customers. Everybody's winning when those things are running. So it's important to keep all the administrative stuff out of the shop, for sure.
Yeah. You talked about being thrown to the wolves when it came to like designing nests for laser cutting. How many heads did you crash?
What's that?
How many heads did you crash?
Oh God. On that machine, it was at least once a day.
Oh,
at the beginning.
Man.
Because
That's a lot of pressure.
It's a ton of pressure, and not only that, like the focus was all fully manual and everything.
Yeah.
I got a half-day crash course on how to run this machine.
Wow.
And then it was just like, okay, figure it out. And you know what? To be completely honest, that machine might have been able to cut 1/2 inch. I just wasn't a good laser operator. But
did that experience? Did you think that really did you well in terms of like becoming smarter when it came with all
maybe
these
not
advanced?
for my mental health, but no. I honestly, looking back, it definitely did build a lot of confidence. I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah,
but,
no, it was baptism by fire.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, that exact saying, baptism by fire, is a common saying in our shop. Where don't get me wrong, we're not just throwing people into situations but a lot of the time that's you give them the tools, and from there, come to me if you have questions, right? And it's a twofold thing. It builds trust in your employees, and it builds confidence in they build their own confidence in themselves, but also you're not micromanaging them, and that's a morale booster because people don't want to have somebody breathing down their necks.
Right.
It's horrible, right? And so, yeah, I mean, did I crack a lot of heads? All day, all day. That poor service tech, he may as well have just slept at our shop. He was there all the time. And
do you think, how would have your experience been different if you were working on some of these modern machines and they threw it to you?
Oh my gosh. No,
I mean, it'd be stressful, but would the stakes be as large?
Not to discount our operators' abilities, because full disclosure, our current machines, I don't even know how to turn them on anymore.
okay,
right?
all right, yeah.
Because I just haven't run
Right,
them. But
yeah.
the amount of, I remember the first time I saw an automatic nozzle changer, I was like, this is incredible.
Right.
And now it's like that's standard on any half decent laser you're buying, right? But I think the learning curve is reduced, but only in the sense of those types of things, which nozzle you're using, which lens you're using, that sort of thing. Those types of things, you don't have to worry about those, so you can spend more time dialing in your cut conditions or approaching things creatively, right? For example, when I was actually just in Japan last week with Amada, and for the first time, I saw laser cutting of something that has nitto paper on the backside as well.
Oh, okay.
We were always doing that on our water jet. Well, they said, you just use a bigger nozzle, and it blows out the nitto paper on the bottom, and it's perfectly crisp, clean cut, right?
Wow.
And it's stuff like that if you're sitting there changing out nozzles manually, changing out lenses manually, dialing in your focus manually, all that sort of stuff, that takes so much time that by the time you've done that, you just want to get the job cut. Whereas if that stuff's automated like it is nowadays, it makes things so much easier to, when there is a problem, to approach it with a clear head and approach it creatively and not, sit there and stress about, oh, well, did I put the nozzle in? It's the nozzle in, did I screw it in off center or whatever, right? And because a lot of your variables are taken care of, a lot of the other problems are much more manageable that way.
Yeah.
So.
I was thinking, when you talk about that, I think about what these lasers are capable of now. Is there still value in having that water jet on the shop floor? Or what is it doing a lot these days?
For us, yeah. The water jet has never been a huge moneymaker for us. Ironically, the initial business plan was to just buy a water jet, and we kind of found that dinosaur of a laser at an auction for for dirt cheap, and it was like, okay, gets us. It got us in the game, right?
Yeah.
But the water jet has never been like the big money maker for our company. But what it does is it's much like the brake press or the polishing. And it's been that since day one. It's that value-added service where you're becoming a one-stop shop for these customers.
Right.
And instead of them being like, okay, I got to send my water jet over here, I'll send the laser cutting to Emtek, but then Emtek's got to get it polished, so send the polishing here and blah, blah, blah. It's, okay, here's my bill of material, here's my package, Emtek, figure it out.
Right.
And that's where, for us, it's a great kind of value to have, and when people are coming with, hey, can you guys cut plastics? Can you cut this? Yeah, I mean, a water jet can cut anything, right? So with that as a capability, it's really allowing us to be that one-stop full-service shop, and because of that, we're getting more customers, and we're maintaining more customers, and just getting more bigger jobs and stuff because of that. It's a huge asset, but that's another thing is a lot of these different assets and different things that you approach when you are looking at business. It's a lot like, when they talk about building a sports team, like building a hockey team. Oh, well, these guys have better numbers. Yeah, well, these guys work better together, right?
Yeah.
And there's some value that you have in your business, certain processes you implement, whatever, that you can't just quantize and figure out. It's not always just data. And I say that as somebody who loves data. That's what I'm doing all day with all of my stuff, right? With the AI and everything. But some of this stuff is just, it's a value that's inherently there.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're about to replace an older CO2
Yes.
with a modern fiber laser. That into itself would be a crazy dynamic. But you already have some high-powered fiber lasers in operation in your shop. How's that kind of changed the flow of material leaving the laser cutting machines?
So our first fiber laser we plugged in. So we were originally in about 10,000 square feet in Guelph. We moved to a 25,000 square foot facility in November of 2019 and plugged in the 6K fiber laser at that same time. We had a 4K CO2 and then the oversized 6K CO2 at the time. 4 months after that, COVID hit, and we more than doubled our business size, and we were terrified.
Yeah.
Thank God for that fiber laser, though, because we had never been busier.
Yeah.
So much of our product mix, especially doing a lot of stainless, food, pharmaceutical, water treatment, all that sort of stuff, it became the only work that was out there, but there was a metal shortage, and so we were never busier. Like, it was unbelievable how busy we were. But because we had that fiber, the cut times are a fraction of what a CO2 is. And so it's become a no-brainer. I mean, I don't even think, unless it's specialty ordered, I don't even know if Amada truly manufactures CO2s like on the floor anymore. And the fiber lasers, the amount of speed, like, it's to the point now where our machines have more downtime than they have running time, because the running time is that fast that to get the parts off, to sort them and all that sort of stuff, because we're a smaller job shop, right? We're not doing production style work where we can have the automated sorting and the pallet tower and all that sort of stuff. So we have more downtime, and we have laborers that are picking parts and the whole thing, but it's just, these things are so incredibly fast, you cannot keep up to them. So it's completely changed how the workflow is staged, where you're before it was like, okay, well, that job's running, I'll go stage my next job. It's like, no, now you're staging your shift. And so, like, for the first, so we have an afternoon shift, and they come in at 3 o'clock. From 3 to 4 o'clock, unless there's something that's was running, during the day shift that's still running, from 3 to 4 o'clock, those machines are not running. And that's simply because these guys are staging their full shift's worth of work. They're getting all their materials staged and ready and prepped, preparing their jobs. And it creates a culture where organization becomes so critical. Right? And the more you're organized, the more you're going to produce over a shift. And don't get me wrong, those curveballs get thrown in there and stuff like that. That's part of being a job shop. It's, you got to service your customers. But ultimately, you've got to be extremely organized and make sure that, it starts at the top, right? All your work orders have to be organized. Then, production scheduler has to make sure that everything's organized there. But it's right through to the operators and the laborers, staging work, taking everything off, making sure everything's nice and neat and organized. And the speed of how these machines go, that forces the issue on that.
What's your, I know you talked about some of the competitive advantages you have in terms of what you can do, but what about the materials you actually handle? And I mean, is there anything there that you, like, do you specialize in certain materials that your clients come for?
We're probably, on a dollar value, we're probably about 50% stainless, and then 50% mix of maybe 60 to 70% stainless, and then a 50% mix of like mild steel and aluminum. On top of that, the water jet does, every material under the sun. There's YouTube videos online where they cut stuff in half, and it's pretty cool. But we get into a lot of as needed, like exotic metals. So your high nickel alloys, stuff like that. I'm not a metallurgist. I just know that this grade, I go to this supplier, but a lot of the time that stuff is a little bit trickier to cut on a laser compared to, okay, so you're comparing, say, a 304 or 316 stainless compared to a higher nickel alloy, something like, say, a duplex or an Inconel, where there is a difference in the cut conditions you need to have and stuff like that. And going back to the discussion about, automating the nozzle changes and the lens changes and all that sort of stuff, the ability to dial those in quicker, it makes it so much easier. And with more power now, it's even easier. Yeah. And so the material mix is a big part of another reason why we're getting the work that we do, because there's a lot of laser shops that they only do stainless, or they only do carbon or whatever.
Right.
And we kind of, we're more than happy to, like, you throw something at us, we're gonna, at the very least, we're gonna try. Sure. Even just yesterday, one of my sales reps was having a meeting. There's this grading material for this company that makes metal screens, and they want us to try cutting it on the laser. And we're looking at it, and like they left, the meeting was over, and we're all kind of standing around this sheet of great material. We're all kind of looking at it, smiling at each other, like, there's no way this is gonna work, is it? And it's like, we're all like, no, probably not. But you know what? We'll try it, right? Because all you can do is try. And a lot of the time, with the capabilities and the power of these machines, you get a good operator, somebody who can approach a problem creatively. And that goes back to giving them that autonomy and that confidence in their ability. You'll be surprised, what can be pulled off with, weird materials or weird patterns, shapes, anything, or you got to build a jig for something or whatever, right? That sort of stuff is where a lot of our bread and butter comes from, is just kind of finding, and a lot of the time, that's how you can get into the door of a new customer, right? Is, hey, our regular guys won't do this.
Yeah.
You guys think you can do this? It's like, yeah, we'll do that. But also, how about all this other work that you guys have, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
prove your worth.
Yeah.
How do you keep your jobs organized in the nest? Do you just nest like one job?
One job per customer.
And that stuff's coming off there, and they know what to do with it. I got you.
And that is the nonstop ongoing debate with our programmers and us. Is I recognize that nesting each job to each customer, each work order, is not the most efficient way of doing it.
Right.
But it comes back to our core philosophy from the beginning, that is service your customer, right? So the number of times I have a customer that says, hey, I need this job done, it's quarter 304, I can't tell them, oh, we're only cutting quarter 304 next Friday.
Right.
It's, all right, I'll throw it up tonight. When you program it up and they grab, a drop or whatever, it's not the most efficient way to program. It's also not the most efficient way to cut, but it does satisfy your customers. And ultimately, that's what we're in the business of doing, right? We are not a production facility. We're a job shop. We are a service facility. And that means service the customer, right? And so doing that allows us to get ahead of the guys that are a little bit more production focused, where it's, we can do that for you, but it's going to be 6 to 8 business days, right?
Is remnant management a challenge?
Sure is.
Are the new machines helping you at all with that? Because I know there's technologies out there, on some of these machines that
it's
can
one
do
of
that.
those things where we've started, and this would be, you could have my brother on here, but my brother's a very quiet person. He's the polar opposite of me. He's not much of a talker, but my brother would debate you till he's blue in the face on different ways you can track remnants. We've tried everything, and I know there's software options out there, in barcoding, all that sort of stuff. The tricky thing is, for us, is being that job shop is, okay, we do all that work in the office, and then they go out and cut it, but 4 parts had to be scrapped off, and we had to do these recuts. Well, now we've got to go back into the office, and that's more admin. And it's, much like out on the floor, we want to just be producing.
Right.
Internal in the office, it's the same thing. You just want to be pumping out as much work as possible, right?
Right.
So the nice thing is we have a bunch of really, really, really competent, really skilled operators. We're extremely fortunate to have that. And they know in the back of their mind, I can go to any operator on the floor and say, hey, 11 gauge 316 number 4, I need to drop, 12 by 24. We got anything? Yeah, there's something over here, and there's a bit of a dog leg in it, but I think we can make it work. And they know exactly where it is.
Yeah, right,
now, again, that contradicts my points about building systems and all that sort of stuff. But again, nothing is perfect.
Yeah, some systems are easier to create than others, right? So.
Exactly, and that is a system that it's so variable, and it's so malleable all the time that's a really, really tough one in our with our material mix and everything. Like, we're stocking probably at least 100 different grades, thicknesses, whatever of material. Like, it's really, really hard to track over time. And so, we have, purchaser and stuff that manages stock and all that sort of stuff. But as far as remnants go, it's an ongoing battle. And it just, the nature of the beast with our company, it's always going to be that way.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Right. Do you feel, where do you feel like your company will be in 5 years?
Hopefully able to acquire more space. That's a huge challenge right now.
It sounds a little bit tight with like 3 laser cutting machines,
It's snug.
a brake, and
It's
a
snug.
water
Yeah.
jet.
It's I say that, but I was, like I said, I was just in Japan with Amada. They had that much crowded into like 3,000 square feet.
No
it was
kidding.
unbelievable.
Wow.
Now, in Japan, the vast majority is not doing heavy plate, right? They were doing 20 gauge stuff, so you didn't need a forklift, you didn't need that
Right.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think next kind of step is looking at, again, just more value-added services. It's a lot easier to be more to your customer than it is to find more customers. We're
Yeah,
always
right.
doing that too, don't get me wrong.
Right, yeah.
But, 2 lasers, high-definition etching machines, that sort of thing, maybe a router table, that sort of thing. As well as, and I mean, this is a whole other conversation. If you ever wanted to have me back, we could go down that road of, right now, a lot of small to medium-sized businesses that were started 20, 30 years ago are having a hard time finding succession for the exact reason
Right.
I talked about at the very beginning of this podcast. A lot of their kids and stuff don't want to get into this industry because
Right.
it's not sexy, it's not attractive, right?
Right.
But then you come to FabTech and you get to see all these robots and stuff, and it's like, oh no, it is.
Right,
It's
yeah,
really, really
absolutely.
cool. But it takes some time to get there. But there's not a lot of succession plans for a lot of businesses. So that's where I think, when you start looking at acquisitions of complementary companies that offer processes that complement your own, that you can start building out, literally a one-stop kind of service house that satisfies everything, and all of a sudden your customers are just having to assemble stuff like IKEA furniture, right?
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I'm not good at all. So
Yeah. Being that you have core competencies and you're having you must have relationships with other shops.
Yeah, oh yeah, for
that
sure.
do the things like the welding and maybe processing larger pieces of metal on brakes forming. Does that create a situation where a lot of players and it might create more of an opportunity for an acquisition?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's actually becoming where my business partner Jeff, who I said is all day just networking.
Yeah, okay.
It's actually becoming more beneficial from starting to approach things like acquisitions and stuff as we kind of get into. We're almost 15 years in business now.
Yeah.
You know, we're starting to get down the road about,
Right.
you know, like you said, that 5-year plan is there, right? Where, you know, we have a dedicated outside sales rep because a lot of his networking and stuff is becoming more about, okay, maybe like, let's see what these guys are doing as far as M&A and stuff like that. And a lot of it is very early stages, very conversational. That's where all of this stuff starts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, because we're a lot of our customers are also our suppliers as far as secondary processes and stuff like that, that's where this stuff becomes a lot easier of a conversation, because this isn't a working relationship where, you know, I process a PO for this guy once a month. These are guys I'm talking to all day, every day. You know, sometimes I talk to some of my customers more than I talk to my own wife, you know? That's where these relationships are key and they're critical, but it's also goes back to, because we service these customers, those relationships are boldened and hardened by, you know, a level of respect of, no, these guys are good, they get stuff done. And that's where because nobody wants to sell their business to see it fail. Right. But, you know, they'll look at, you know, a business like ours, and it's, you know, these guys rarely, if ever, let me down. They're competent, you know, they've got a good team. I trust that these guys could, you know, take my business and do something special with it, you know? So.
Yeah. Sounds like you're very good with the relationship part of things. So
It's the core value of the entire business,
Right.
is relationships. And that goes back to how we were selling and stuff. Like, we've tried online marketing, we've tried, you know, email blasts, all that sort of stuff. The best business we ever get is just relationship business,
Yeah,
right? Because they just, people are creatures of habit. If they like somebody and they want to deal with somebody, it's a lot easier to fire that same email, you know, hit forward to whoever than it is to try to remember in the back of your head, oh, who was that company that sent us the email that they do the thing, you know? So it's the literally the heartbeat of our business is
It's funny you mentioned that, because, you know, Amada has been good enough to sponsor this episode. And,
Yes.
And when you walked in the show, that's where you went.
Yeah.
And you're like,
oh, I just got back from Japan with those guys.
Yeah,
we were
exactly.
we were laughing about a bunch of stuff that happened while we were there that
can't talk
probably
about.
shouldn't go on air, but no, and that's the thing. That's a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, when we were first going to buy a 4K laser, we had another company in mind, and you know, they came through with a quote, pricing was good and everything, and just by chance, like a week before we were about ready to place the PO, the Amada sales rep at the time just walked into our shop, and he just said, like, hey, I sell lasers. He's like, and they had one that was on like an absolute steal of a deal. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like a showpiece. And you know what? I believe what it was it was a showroom piece that was the orientation of it. It was left-handed orientation. Amada makes all their machines right-hand orientation. Or the inverse. I don't know. Ask an Amada rep. I'm pretty sure it depends on which way you're looking at it, obviously, but they call one right hand, one left hand, right? So anyways, it was a left-handed orientation, and it just so happened to work perfectly in the spot that a laser would fit in our
Okay.
shop.
Wow.
The problem is we've now moved that machine. And so now every time we need to replace that machine, so our 9K that's coming in, they have those in stock and we could get one within 30
That's
to
funny.
60 days. We got to wait 9 months because they got to build it custom for us. and our sales rep, Daniel, who's the best at Amada, he says, he's like, everybody at Amada knows Emtek because you're the guys that have to buy the left-handed machine.
That's funny.
So,
That's right.
but again, it's a relationship thing, right? You know, it's and right after this podcast, I'm going right back to that booth because those guys are great but it starts with, you know, you can be the best person in the world, but if what you're offering isn't competent, isn't a good quality service, product, whatever,
Right. Yeah.
that's going to sour that relationship. Amada's machines they're the best. They're second to none, right? I mean, I was just in Japan touring their facility, and it was like going to manufacturing Disney World. Like it was so cool, and the amount of stuff you see when you're there, it's like, oh no, I see that like these guys put care into everything, and that is why these machines are as good as they are. Like we just you know.
It's amazing how the relationship underpins like all this advanced technology, and you kind of makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's like now it's to the point where it's like, okay, we need a new laser. Go to Amada. Like it's not even a question. It's just like, okay, what are they offering? What do they have available? Is it left-handed? You know, and it's made it makes the buying process, because I mean it's not a small ticket item, right? But it makes, because we have that relationship and there's that level of trust there. You know, we bought the 12K fiber, oversized fiber. That was the most recent machine we had plugged in, and when it was plugged in, it worked great. But over time, what happened was there was because we cut so much heavy plate on it, the bed actually started to slightly like almost sag a little bit, and it was not like, it was purely an engineering
Right.
like oversight. It still worked fine, but like it would kind of muck up our focus a bit. But like in no time, they were there, they were repairing it, and they came up with like a whole fix. Like the service is second to none. And I mean, that type of problem can happen on any machine. That is not to say that that's Amada's fault or anything, right? It's just that sort of level of attention to detail and care for your customers and service, it echoes exactly how we feel about our customers, right? And it's just the whole way through. It's
Now going to that Disneyland, did that sort of give you ideas about how to change the way you approach how you go forward in the future?
yes and no. I mean, Amada is a very different company than what we are.
Sure.
But the one thing that was unbelievable was like cleanliness. Like and I mean, again, different companies, right?
Right.
But like we really prioritize our shop, like being swept, guys wiping down the machines, keeping everything greased and neat and clean and tidy, which helps with the organization and all that sort of stuff. But it just further proves that, like, oh no, these guys are doing that tenfold, and it just goes to show that, like, that's an even, that just proves how that philosophy, it works for them. Okay, it's going to work for us too, right?
Right, right.
And a lot of that, stuff that sometimes feels like pointless or whatever, it's like it's just going to get dirty again. And I mean, we have a water jet. That thing's filthy, right?
Do you cut in the same area as you laser cut? Water jet
Yeah,
cut?
roughly the same area. I mean, they're far enough away that
Okay,
the lasers
yeah.
aren't getting filthy or anything. But I mean, it's we clean up around it all day, every day, right? Because it's just, you gotta keep things neat and tidy, and It's not just a safety thing. Feels better to work in a clean environment. You can find your stuff a lot easier and all that sort of stuff. And when you go into Amada and they're building these crazy high-level lasers and punching machines and brake presses, you see like their shop, like I wouldn't hesitate to eat off the floor in that shop.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, like they're able to make those machines because of the organization and how neat and tidy they keep everything.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Very cool.
That's awesome. So where can we learn more about Emtek?
So we are on Instagram at Emtek Alloys, and we have a website, emtekalloys.com. There's contact information on there. Anybody in Southern Ontario looking for laser cutting or anything like that, or just wants to, put the bug in our ear and talk shop and stuff like that. Obviously, I just did it for however long it's been, an hour or whatever here. Happy to do that.
We'll see how this podcast advertising works out.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta let us know if you get customers.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry, I won't hesitate to share.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
It was a great
Thank
chat.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you to Amada for sponsoring this. And if you have any questions, comments, complaints, criticism, send them to Aura Coleman at fmamfg.org. We'll just change it up, see if anybody caught that. All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and Lincoln Bruner. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager, recorded by Griffin Hammond, and edited by Dana Weicker. Additional support provided by Andy Flando, Elizabeth Gavin, Sarah Spring, Amy Hudson, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, and Pat Simon. If you like this podcast, check out the FMA Podcast Network. Thank you for listening.